Hey, good afternoon and welcome to today's episode of the Elite Health and Wellness Show. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about semaglutide and weight loss. My name's Clay. I'm the co-owner of EliteHealthOnline.com, and this is Michaela Rivera from Texas Star Pharmacy. Michaela is a cellular and molecular biologist and is the VP of Sales and Marketing at Texas Star Pharmacy. So, Michaela, today's audience is going to be very surprised by your level of knowledge and what you know about this entire, concept of losing weight medically, particularly with semaglutide. So talk to us about the current challenges that patients are facing when it comes to losing weight. We see it every day in our clinic, but share with us what's the current challenge today.
Yeah, and I'm not surprised. First, thank you for having me, Clay. I'm not surprised that you get that feedback from your patients, considering that obviously there is an obesity epidemic in the United States, and weight loss challenges everywhere are attributed to a variety of different verticals. One being really the systemic overconsumption of food. The increasing accessibility to poor food choices, poor drink choices, and people continue to eat the same number of calories regardless of the fluctuations in their energy levels, the fluctuation in, their lifestyle changes, and particularly their metabolism and their activity.
Well, as you age, right? The freshman 20?
Yeah, right? The freshman 20. Well, I mean, hey, I gained weight when I went to college, but I also played soccer 5 days a week when I was in high school. And then I went to college. I didn't have that discipline, and I ate at the food court garbage all day. Of course I gained weight. And I think society really as a whole has just become more sentient. People, sit at work all day, especially as people became more remote, and they didn't go to the office. They didn't have to get in their car and drive to their office. They continued to eat the same amount of calories. They continued to increase the number of poor food choices that they incorporated into their diet. And unfortunately, this less activity and the decrease in their metabolism, their portion size doesn't decrease as well.
Right.
And then as we've spoken about in previous episodes with you guys, we do have, patients who have other problems with their body, whether it's their hormone levels, that aren't being altered and fixed preventatively to help them, or whether it's a genetic standpoint that does halt people from losing weight.
So you talked about the portion size. It's interesting. People start to eat healthier. They'll say, okay, I'll eat almonds or I'll eat cashews. But the portion size.
Yes.
Yeah. You get a handful of almonds, not half the bag.
No, and hey, I shop at Sam's. And they have those big tubs of the chocolate covered almonds. And I'm like, oh, I'll have 3 of them. But then 3 turns to 9, turns to 18. And then you just can't stop eating them. But, discipline. And hey, I've got a quick metabolism.
Right.
Maybe I can get away with 18 chocolate, a whole bag of chocolate covered almonds right now. In the future,
right.
I mean, I hope to say I still have that supercharged metabolism. Is it likely? No.
You won't.
So,
It'll
right?
change.
Yes.
Yeah. And the stories we hear every day, it changes. So we see
overnight.
patients that this is not what I used to be like and what happened. So talk to us about semaglutide specifically. How does it work? I mean, our program is a 16 to 24 week program. Okay, these are people that are usually already doing everything right. They've tried a diet, they're exercising, they're doing it, and it's just not working. Yeah. And we talked about the reasons why and some of the discipline there. Talk to us about semaglutide. What is it? How does it work? And what can patients expect? Sure.
So I'm really happy you brought that up. Semaglutide is our patients might be more familiar with it as Wigovi, Ozempic. Those are injectable options. They also have some oral options like Rybelsus and Saxenda. It's what referred to as a GLP-1 receptor agonist. And it's a lot of letters and numbers that people are kind of like, okay, what does that mean to me? What it really means is it's a glucagon-like peptide. Glucagon being the key word. So if you are familiar with how your pancreas reacts once you eat food, this glucagon-like receptor will bind and cause you to secrete insulin. So it's an incretin mimetic. You secrete insulin and it decreases your blood sugar levels. On top of that, glucagon, if any of our listeners have ever worked in a GI lab, glucagon does stop the peristalsis of your intestines. What that really means is it stops you from moving food down your intestine tract. And that, all these effects of this Ozempic, Wigovi, it comes to decrease your appetite and regulate your blood sugar.
So slowing gastric emptying.
Yes.
So when you eat a meal, my experience, lost 20 pounds on it.
Good. Congratulations.
Eat a meal. Normally 3 to 4 hours later, you're starving again, and you aren't even thinking about food. So it works on slowing down the gastric emptying.
Yes, and reducing your cravings. It's regulating your blood sugar. So after you eat, and then your blood sugar spikes, and it goes back down, and you're like, oh, I got to eat again. Nope, it helps you maintain that blood sugar level, which is why this drug was originally used for type 2 diabetics to help regulate A1C. And then the side effect was, seeing weight loss in these patients who had trouble losing weight for whatever one of those, reasonings that we touched on before. But these brand name drugs, they are FDA approved. Wigovi Ozempic is an FDA approved drug. It is approved for patients with a BMI of 25 plus. Patients usually will have diabetes or other comorbidities. However, they have seen amazing results in patients over these extended periods of time for weight loss.
Yeah, we've even seen great results. Again, we'll use it off label for people that are just need to lose 10 or 15 pounds.
Just need to and I've seen great results in people who just want to get back to where they were before. Right. So women who may have had a baby, and then they, like we said before, you were eating for 2 for 6 months.
Right.
And now you're like, okay, I've been eating for 2. I want to get back to these levels that I was at before. They'll use this adjunct to diet and exercise to get back to
that was my big takeaway. Is it just taught me that how little food I needed. Growing up as, a kid, you just eat and you're skinny and you can eat whatever you want and you get these big, and then all of a sudden you realize, oh my gosh, I'm not going to wither away and die, and this is how little food I need. It's that teaches you that discipline. Yeah. So this is a 16 to 24 week program. Talk to us a little bit about the patient's experience, weeks 1 through 4, 4 through 8, 8 through 16 kind of thing.
Well, thank you for breaking it down into these sections, because it's important to know that these GLP-1 receptors, like Wigovi and Ozempic, they have a titration period of it, really at least 8 weeks.
Titration meaning
that you're going to start at a low dose, and these FDA-approved drugs, they do have a titration that recommends starting at 0.25 milligrams once a week for 4 weeks. Right. You titrate up just really to get your body more familiar with these effects.
So you're increasing the dose as your body gets used to the medication.
Acclimates to it. And, every patient's different. Every patient, you might react well at one dose. Meanwhile, a different patient might have more of these, side effects that do come with these drugs. And it's important to touch on, what therapy is right for you with your providers. There are some patients who benefit from one therapy over the other, but touching back to this titration period, 8 weeks is really a minimum. You might not see, therapeutic results until your 9th week. But 24, this drug, you can use it for as long as you want.
Right.
Weight loss wise, you do build up a tolerance to these drugs, like you do anything else.
Yep.
So, you'll start at 0.25. You go to 0.5 milligrams once a week for 4 weeks. You'll jump up to 1 milligram once a week for 4 weeks. And as suggested by Wigovi and Ozempic, you can titrate up all the way to 1.7, 2.4 milligrams. Do all patients have to do that?
Yep.
If that right, your therapy should be determined by your provider. Anecdotal evidence and studies have shown that patients can experience effects as early as weeks 1 to 4.
Yeah.
These effects, like we said before, appetite suppression, a decreased motivation to eat, with that, delayed GI emptying. But as you continue into these later weeks,
the sweet spot's week 8 to 9.
That's when you really see these, extreme weight loss.
Yep. And it gets drastic.
Yeah, and it's like a...
It's like a switch went off for me at week 8. And we've had multiple patients who came to us and said, I just don't think it's working. I'm going to discontinue. And we're like, well, where are you at in your therapy? We look them up and we're talking to them. I'm at week 4.
Yeah.
It's like, you're not there yet. We're titrating you up. We're moving you up so that you don't have the side effects and symptoms. And I think you didn't really elaborate on that, but may touch on that if you went straight, and we've had patients who self-made mistake and
Yes.
jumped up into the higher titration too early, and then they had really not good signs and side effects. So talk about that importance, and again, just stressing that patients need to get to the 8th week.
And I always get asked by my providers and my patients is, how do I get rid of these side effects? I'm like, hey, I really wish I could give you something to get rid of these side effects, because there is a subset of this population where the side effects are too severe for some of their patients. And these side effects include nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, and in more extreme cases, even pancreatitis. And now, how do I get rid of this? You can prescribe, Zofran for that nausea. And I think that Elite Health does offer
we
that
do that
for their
proactively.
patients, right? To help them with that nausea that they may experience. However, the drug does have a very particular mechanism. And that mechanism of, delayed GI emptying, you are going to have some of that abdominal
Most patients
pain.
have had a very mild, nausea, very mild. Their energy level isn't great. What I tell them is, if you've ever tried a ketogenic diet and you're trying to lose weight and you're cutting calories, you're probably not going to feel optimal anyway. So as much as possible, try to tough it out for the next 16 weeks. Well, would you say most patients do tolerate well? Like, what percentage of the patients would you say are able to either have no symptoms or tolerate it?
In studies reported, by Novo Nordisk and these big pharma manufacturers, 75% of patients experience mild to moderate side effects.
Okay.
There's a subset, 1/4 of these patients do experience severe side effects, and that does lead to them leaving this therapy. That shouldn't scare any patients. There are so many other alternatives to weight loss, as I'm sure you know, and Elite does offer that we can touch on later. But these, that 1/4, it's important to note that you do need to follow this titration.
That's where we've had the biggest problem, is people not following titration.
Well, research and these testimonies do suggest that, through the titration, your body acclimates to the effects of this medication and reduces the likelihood of these severer side effects as you titrate up. And we want you to have a good experience with this drug, because we have seen amazing patient results in multiple different verticals. And following the titration is really the most important aspect. And being honest with your provider, like, hey, I gave myself, and I bumped up the dose. I did it on a different day.
They're in a hurry.
Yeah.
They didn't put it on overnight, right? You put it on over the last 10 years of holidays, 5 pounds each year.
Yep.
And now you want to get it off before vacation. You're going to Belize soon, right? So,
I'm
trying to get it out of get all this weight off tomorrow. Doesn't work that way.
No.
But get a little more practical for a second. So this is a once a week subcutaneous injection.
Yes, sir.
Talk to us about the route and or the route and how you take it and that sort of thing.
Yeah. So once a week injection is optimal, because people are straying from these maintenance medications. As
you say injection, though, you just lost like half the audience. So it's a subcutaneous, correct?
Yes, subcutaneous. So subcutaneous meaning just under the fur, like just into your fat. Anytime that I do a subcutaneous injection, I do it in what's either referred to as the donut. So about 2 inches away from your belly button in the abdominal area. Also in your thigh.
Tiny
or your
diabetic
quad.
needle, right?
Yep. So it's going to be a 31 gauge needle. Really tiny needle.
Yep.
You'll drop, you can see it on there with the numbers. You're going to just want to do it right under the skin once a week. Data and anecdotal evidence has suggested that doing it in the evening time does provide a bit better patient experience. That way you're not dealing with any of these side effects.
Because they wane as the week goes on, right? Like you might experience those if you're going to earlier in that week, because it's a once a week injection.
Yes.
Okay.
So, like we've said, the concentration of it is higher right after you give it. So you might experience, I feel a little bit more like less appetite suppression, or I don't feel as full later in the week. That's the way that the drug works. That's totally normal. But you'll want to give that injection, on the same day each week, just to make sure you're keeping it stable and that your body's acclimated. Your body knows what, your body's in a state of homeostasis. Right. And we want to treat patients not palliatively. We want to treat the root cause. So if we can treat your blood sugar, make sure that your blood sugar is normal and keep your body in recognizing this is where I'm supposed to be. This is how I should be behaving.
right.
then you can continue that, exacerbate those effects, especially with, watching your diet and increasing your exercise. And there's a comprehensive approach to weight loss.
And that's really the approach we take at Elite Health Online is to let people know, again, this is a medication that can help train you on what your diet consumption needs to look like, what your volume looks like. So there are people that come to us, again, that need to lose 15 or 20. They can jump on the semaglutide, very affordable, boom, they're done. They get to their ideal body weight. That was me, lost about 18 pounds over that 16 to 20 week period of time, got to my ideal body weight. Wanted to experience and see what it was like for patients. Talk to me, though, about the person who has 50 pounds to lose or 75. What does that look like? Because 16 weeks isn't going to get it done.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So talk to us about that.
Well, it's like you said before. You put this weight on over 10 years. You can't. Rome wasn't built in a day, but they laid stones every hour. So using this medicine, this Wigovi, Ozempic, Semaglutide, Receptor, 16-week protocol is a standard titration. And to say that you can use it for an extended period of time, as diabetics do, to manage their A1C, you do build up a tolerance. So, Wigovi being one of 6 medications for the long-term treatment of obesity, as long as the medicine remains beneficial and the side effects are tolerable, you can stay on this. But it's not uncommon to see providers that, take their patients off of a GLP-1 like Wigovi and Ozempic and cycle them on to a different therapy like, a phentermine appetite suppression based compound, which Elite offers, or, not just a thermogenic or something like a low dose naltrexone. Right.
That's a great one.
Right. And these are...
We do prefer to cycle them off so that they're getting the bang for the buck. I think there's 2 things we believe is important. One is that you come off and let you gain that discipline, right? Yeah. And you can't stay on it forever necessarily unless you're diabetic. It's not the best idea when you get your ideal body weight. But we're cycling people over to the Elite Thermogenic, which is phentermine, caffeine, aspirin, chromium, and green tea. And that combination is really working to speed up their core metabolism, speed up their core body temperature, and do the suppression of the appetite. So they're getting a different mechanism. And then in 30, 60 days, cycle them back over. Now the semaglutide is back at its full effect.
Yep. So that semaglutide, like you said before, green tea extract, those thermogenics increase your body temperature, help you burn calories. Chromium help you regulate your blood sugar. They all serve a similar purpose. Right. And phentermine is really a short term therapy, but it's well known. But
it's a bridge for that person that has a lot to lose. Yeah. And so that they don't lose the sensitivity of semaglutide, where you're taking, again, we're very affordable, but if you have to keep taking more and you're losing sensitivity, by cycling off and coming back, the sensitivity returns and bang, you see that. And you don't have to go back to that, maybe you could elaborate on this, you don't have to go back to that lowest dose. You usually can come back at we're bringing people back at a much higher dose than the starting point. So we're not at the first 1 through 4 weeks, we're at the 8, we start right back at the 8 to 16 because they've had it before.
Well, depending on your patients. And it's like you said, or like we've touched on before, your mind is very important. So as people get into these, 1 milligram doses and they start to build up a tolerance, as they notice that, hey, my weight loss is stagnant. I'm spending I'm spending money on this. Cycling them onto something else, giving their body an opportunity, and then they coming back onto it. The dose that they come onto, it is patient specific, and encouraging their patients to talk to your provider, and encouraging your provider to listen to you and your feedback anecdotally is the best way to communicate this, so that they can get you on the right dose, the right therapy, and ensure that you're meeting your weight loss goals.
So you mentioned low dose naltrexone. A lot of people won't know what that is, but at Elite Health Online, a lot of providers were like, okay, good, we're done. You got to your ideal weight. That's not the end. Now we know, and you and I both know this from being in the health and fitness industry and in the medical industry, that that's not how it works. No. If you're not doing something serious with the diet and exercise, you're going to gain it back. Naltrexone really supports that. Can you tell us about how it works a little bit? Could you go into that one? And because I think that one is a super affordable medication we provide.
Yes.
great history on that drug, been around forever.
Yeah.
So share with us.
So low-dose naltrexone is FDA approved for a high dose. It's about 50 milligrams, and people might be a little familiar with the word. It's for opioid withdrawal. Everyone's like, how does that correlate to weight loss? Well, in low doses, 1.5 milligrams up to 4.5 milligrams at night has shown to, provide appetite suppression, especially in patients who have hypothyroidism or other things that aren't especially targeted by, these other obesity drugs like Wigovi and Ozempic. Yeah, they're great for diabetics, but people who have hypothyroidism, low energy levels, and, low-dose naltrexone also being a great option for pain. So people who can't move very much because
it helps you sleep as well, right?
Yeah. So you're going to want to take it at night.
Yeah.
Because it does make you a little sleepy.
Not like a Benadryl type sleep, but just a relax.
Deep
it
sleep.
Shuts off the
mu opioid receptors.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a very up and coming drug, and not just weight loss, but all these other.
But it's been around forever.
Forever.
Has a very good history, well tolerated, no real side effects.
Non-controlled drug, no real side
Doesn't it do something for cravings is
forming.
what my experience was. So took the low-dose naltrexone, noticed suddenly my desire to walk past the pantry and grab a handful of chips just kind of, it's weird, like mentally it just didn't have that same craving.
Now, it acts on your central nervous system, what are called your microglial cells. So in your central nervous system, and downstream from that is its effect on, inflammation and allergies and pain. So, the providers that I've seen prescribe this are everything from rheumatologists down to, like we touched on, even psychiatrists and over to weight loss, obviously our application. But you have those patients who, hey, I can't move very much because I've got, swollen, I've got rheumatoid arthritis, or I've got these, other options. Well, yeah, you have appetite suppression. You're not in as much pain. You have a non-controlled, non-habit forming option that you can cycle into your therapy with semaglutide or these GLP-1s so that you can continue on your weight loss journey even when you think it might be over. Because there's a comprehensive approach to weight loss. And is there a cure-all? No, it does come down to the patient and their dedication towards using these drugs and your mindset. Having these other options does give patients more hope in wondering, like, okay, what if this doesn't work for me? That's okay. There are tons of other options that you're more than welcome, and we encourage you to speak to your provider about so that you can, try it. They're affordable as well. They are affordable options.
Yeah. Well, Michaela, thank you for being here. Wealth of information. Folks, really, Michaela there at the end really touched on it's a journey. We have a lot of patients that come to us and like, why didn't I learn about naltrexone in my first visit? At elitehealthonline.com, you're going to get a 20-minute provider consultation. If you need more, we'll give you that. Studies show most providers give their patients about 7 minutes in the office. Everything is done over the phone. You could be at your kid's ball game, in the car, at the office. You'll have a consultation there. It's a journey. So we're going to introduce you to the best solution possible for your health and wellness or weight loss needs. And from there, we're going to continue to take care of you on that health journey. And we'll migrate you to maintenance medications or whatever you need to experience your best life. So go on to elitehealthonline.com, click on the book telehealth appointment if you're ready to book. Again, consultations are free, lab work is free, one visit every 6 months, medication mailed directly to your doorstep. If you still have questions and you want to speak to a specialist, it's completely free. Click on Speak with a Specialist. There, someone like myself or Michaela will be there to talk to you and answer all your questions, make sure you qualify as a patient, and explain the process. So again, thank you for being here today with us on our podcast, and watch for future episodes where we're going to talk about other things like NAD and things that work on a cellular level to keep you at your very best. So thanks for being with us.